Bonjour. Oh, that was interesting yesterday. Don't know if you caught it. But I had to put my money where my mouth is. I just forgot to break my phone out. I should have broke it out. I need to get better at that part. I'm not of that generation to just break your phone out immediately, and I forget, foolishly forget to. But I should have yesterday when dealing with the Popo police and them being douchebags. It was interesting, though. It was interesting. The way that they try to lie and bully their way into getting what they want. Strange. But, you guys don't want to hear about that. You guys want to hear about ending the cult. Yeah, I see it all the time on my Facebook page where people are smart enough to question everything. They question the narratives. They question, they're truthers. They consider themselves truthers. And yet, for some reason, they still don't question the Bible. How does the Bible make it through your defenses? If you're smart enough to question things, the Bible should be at the top of that list. And I, ask people how they think the way they think, ask people why they think the way they think. They won't tell you. Ask any Christian, why do you believe in God? Why do you question everything but that one thing? And they don't say anything. They just shut down. It's really weird. I have video after video of people who identify as truthers, as Christians, getting mad and saying just like the ugliest things because they can't argue any sort of intelligent way. And it doesn't surprise me anymore. It's just weird. It's just a weird thing. I don't know. I think that's how it is with damn near everything. If you try to talk to people about what they believe about damn near anything, they have no idea. It basically comes down to the guy I watch on whatever platform it is said so I'm going to go with the same thing he said. Like as much as it seems like Candace Owens is doing, they have faith so they don't need logic. That's, faith is the absence of logic. That's basically it. But Candace Owens is really, saying and doing some good things while at the same time saying shit like, I hope they find the spirit of Christ. And she still pushes the Christian narrative. And that's why she's allowed to exist. One, she's a black woman, so there's a large portion of the population that are just going to write her off because of that. Racist, sexist, that's a recipe, a proven recipe for buffoonery for a long time. But there's the me's of the world that watch this claiming to be shut down while she talks, while she has her huge audience. And I have to question what it is. I can't just be presented things and fall for it. That's just not how it works. So I'm presented with Candace Owens. I'm always going to ask, why is somebody allowed to be that position, especially somebody in such a high position? She has a pretty big reach, and she has pretty large audience. So you have to ask, like, what is it? What does she do that is still like okay? The system doesn't shut her down, basically. And it's that she pushes the God bullshit. And you know, and it's weird because she's so like good at calling out the bad guy cult bullshit. You know, she talks about the bad guys, but it's like her knowledge base like stops. It's like, well, where do you think your Christianity comes from? Where do you think your Bible comes from? Where do you think that part, the thing that you believe in, comes from? How do you honestly think that Christianity is the good thing? How do all the Tartaria people, how do all the alternative history people think that Christianity somehow slipped through the cracks and everything else is fucking lies and bullshit, but somehow Christianity made it through? I see it everywhere, man. I see it everywhere. Rarely do I find somebody that I think, holy shit, this guy is on point. Yeah. Most of the time, the people saying some of the biggest truths are then telling you to believe in Jesus or the Bible or some shit. And it's just weird. It's just weird. Because you ask them the question, like I talk to a few of those people and I say, like, what is it? How does the Bible get your pass? And they don't even know. They get mad. You know, Christians always get mad when you ask them stuff. When you ask them to elaborate, when you ask them to talk about what the fuck they believe, why they believe, they always get mad. They never look at it like an opportunity to share knowledge with somebody asking questions. If you're asking questions, then, you know, at least you're paying attention a little bit. But that never happens. What are my thoughts on chicken? I actually have thoughts on chicken. I think there's way too much chicken served. Where does it come from? Where does all the meat come from? The amount of animals that would have to be being killed on a fucking hourly basis to supply our meat demands don't make no sense. And of course, I think birds are probably the worst things we can eat. Birds are nasty. Birds are disease-ridden, nasty little fucking creatures. I don't know, I'd stay away from birds. Don't know where you're talking about the gas prices being down. They're not. That's so stupid. And especially if they raise them, they were at the one point, they raised them up, and then they lowered them back to that same point. If you're one of those dumbasses who follows that shit, like, I'll never understand that. Like, you believe what you want to believe. Oh, look, we have another troll here who will be here for hours every single day to not actually say anything that matters, to try to distract and dissuade and you know, won't actually answer for anything, won't talk about anything that matters, but just says stupid shit because they want attention. Why does that happen? These guys are setting alarms to be here. A lot of these guys claim to be in the West Coast. So that means it's like 5 a.m. there. And they're just here every day. Oh, it's fucking stupid. I do appreciate it, though. I absolutely appreciate it, because every comment that somebody makes that's, you know, trying to get attention but doesn't actually address what's being said acknowledges that I'm right. You know, if I was wrong, they would focus on those things. They would pick it apart. They would, you know, they would revel in it, like, oh, I gotcha, you know. But because they They end up just saying stupid shit. It validates the other things I'm saying. People have to look at this realistically, right? You have to look at it from your own personal perspective. How many of you would go to a feed daily for hours on end and talk shit, but not about anything actually being said? Just kind of just talk shit, like obsess over someone while they're talking about bigger picture stuff. You obsess over them. I don't know anybody like that. Everybody I talk to that I explain this shit to them, they don't go, oh yeah, well I do that. That's actually really fun. I do that sometimes. Never. They always think that's fucking weird. Or they just don't believe me because it's so weird. You know, it's such a foreign thing that they just can't wrap their heads around it. For those that don't know, I had an interesting run-in with the police yesterday. We were at the Livonia Spree, and we were watching the drone show. And you have 28 people who think you're not smart. Yeah, see what I mean? That's the best that you can come up with, right? Like, you actually sat there and thought, I'm going to get him. You typed that out and then clicked enter, hoping one of these other trolls would come stroke you off. Oh, yeah, that was a good one. Like, if anybody thinks they're smarter than me, because if you think birds are smarter than me, I'm smarter than you, so what's that say about you? And if you think you're smarter than me, why wouldn't you just address those things that you're getting wrong, or that I'm getting wrong? See, this is what I mean. They're so dumb. This is your typical bad guy-ish stuff. This is the cult. The cult is very stupid. These inbred fucks are really, really stupid. And they know they have nothing. They know this is the best they can offer. Nobody is going to come in here and tell me why Israel is the good guy. Why Israel is the victim here. Why, the cult, it should be allowed to rape children like they do. And, it's not like they deny that the cult rapes children either. They just tell me I shouldn't talk about it. Why? Who thinks along those lines? I just can't, I don't think that way. But anyway, so I'm at the Spree last night, and with my kid and another kid, and they have this drone show going on. And so all we did was just keep walking towards the drones, see how close we can get. So we end up getting like to the park where they're actually doing the thing. And we just walked into the park. I mean, there wasn't any like barrier set up. There wasn't any tape anywhere. Nobody was standing there. How many drugs have you done? So stupid. Oh, spitting. So you can pay attention. So you see that I spit in the video, right? You can see that. You're going to comment on me spitting, but you're not going to comment on the whole genocide thing, pedophilia thing. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is how dumb they are. They actually think that they make sense, but then they don't realize, like, that's what motivates you? You're not going to be like, yeah, fucking kill these pedos and fuck this cult and all that. You're not going to say anything like that. You're just going to keep crying about shit that I do that you can see in the video because you're clearly paying attention. It's so easy. It sucks. I wish this was more difficult. But anyway, so we walk in and there's this, towards the end of the show, we get kind of close, and suddenly out of nowhere, this man comes from this way and this woman comes from this way, and they're like, you got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. And I'm like, this is a public park. What are you talking about? And they're like, you got to get out of here. We'll call the cops. I said, call the cops if you want to. And then we turned around and started walking off. And then the show ends, like right afterward. And I turned and I'm like, you made all this big deal and the show just ended? Like, what are you even doing, right? So we just kept walking. The park is like where we are to like the stop sign, right? So we're walking out of the park when all of a sudden the cops on the golf cart, on the AT, it's like a weird golf cart thing, like one of those golf carts that's made for outdoor, off-road kind of shit. Not necessarily an ATV, but it's like, looks like a golf cart. As we're walking, the cops come pulling up on the golf cart and they flash the lights and they go, "Hey, you come here, you come back over here." So it's us and then it's another woman and her kid. We don't know them, but they're just there. She got first-hand experience with cops intimidating and stalking. Well, just wait. So we turn around and come back, and the cop's like, "I'm gonna need your ID." I said, "I don't got one." He's like, "Well, then you're gonna be here for a while." Okay, whatever. So he's like, "You're not supposed to be here." I said, "Well, this is a public park." "Well, not tonight, it's not." "No, it is." Well, you can't be in here. And I said, "Well, show me the sign." We just walked through. There was no tape, no nothing up. So you tell me, is there a sign or something that says we're not allowed to be here? And the cop says, "Yeah, it's right over there." I said, "Oh, okay, cool. Can I go see the sign?" "No." So why not? I want to see the sign that says I'm not supposed to be here, that I broke some sort of law. And he's like, "No, you can't. So he says, "Well, why did you yell at that woman?" I said, "I didn't yell at the woman." He said, "Well, she said you did." And I should have said, "Well, I have free speech. I can yell at people if I want to." But I said, she goes, "Well, why did she say you did?" And I said, "Because she wanted you guys to do something about it. She lied." He said, "Oh, no, that means you did something." I said, "No, that means she lied to you." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to need your ID." He has his pad of paper out. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "I'm not giving it to you." He's like, What do you mean?" "Well, then you're gonna go in cuffs and you're gonna go to jail." I said, "All right." And I put my hands out. I said, "Okay, well, I know my rights, and this isn't how this works. You can't just take me to jail for no crime." And his partner comes up, or they're both standing there, and I'm like, "You could just trespass me. If she told us to leave and we were leaving, so I don't know what the problem is." And the guy's like, "Well, how about this? How about you trespass from the spree for the whole weekend?" I said, "That's not very smart. You're going to cost Livonia some money, but okay." But I said, the trespassing is you have to tell me to leave, and then I have to refuse to leave for you to get me with trespassing. That's how that works. He's like, "Well, you can just get out of here then." And I, walked off. But it was just, it's like fucking stupid. Look at the dumbass comments. Look at the dumbass comments. "You don't have money." Yup, don't have money. That's why we live. This is how stupid this person is. And I can't tell you how many, this is like the 20th profile this person has made. Just so they can watch my feed, because they've been blocked multiple times. How many of you would do that? How many of you would make fake profiles so you can watch someone even though they block you? They flat out call you a pedophile. You're a pedophile, obviously. And you're a cult member, obviously. You're dumb as fuck, obviously, because you can't actually make any reasonable arguments. So I end up blocking you. How many people would then make a secondary profile, third, fifth profile so they could continue watching me? Does that make sense? "I'm going through a submarine convention on Tuesday." You're going through it, huh? Bet you are. I worked on a submarine. Sure you did. I believe you. People are always so they want to change that subject, man. They sure don't want us talking about ending the cult. You know, they sure don't want us exposing any of this shit. Or can we hear why you think they're fake? Yeah, go watch the first 9 parts where I thoroughly debunk submarines. Please. Most of the videos you watch online aren't live feeds. You're pretty used to watching people's videos. So just go to my name and go to the first 9 parts. Submarines Aren't Real, part 1 through 9, and watch it. And you debunk anything you think you can, which is funny because none of you will do it. None of you will do it. And to think that my perspective on submarines is more important than the genocide taking place right now, than the pedophilia that's so consistently associated with this cult, than the slavery that's associated with the cult. Like, it's interesting how desperate people are. And it doesn't matter what I say, right? I could say all sorts of arguments. They're not going to address anything that's said. If they really wanted to know about submarines, especially the repeat trolls, they would just go to my video and blow it up. You know, point out all the things I'm getting wrong and how stupid I am and blah, blah, blah. But they never do. Just like they never take up the challenge to make a video. Brother, you can go look at a submarine in real life. Can I? Or can I see a boat? It's weird. You know what's weird? It's that on a subconscious level, you know I'm right. If you didn't know I was right, you wouldn't give a shit. You know? There's some sort of reaction happening here where you're so obsessed with this. Like, again, it shouldn't matter. What would you care whether I believe in submarines or not? But there's something inside you that knows it's not true, so you attack what I'm saying to maintain your belief. There's something inside you that knows it's true that submarines aren't real, right? But this is the dumbass narrative that people consistently come at me with because they know I'm right. You know how ridiculous it is to think that we have tin cans floating through water with billions of pounds of pressure pushing on it. You've all tried to sink a ball, or, I mean, you can have a half inflated whatever it is. You go to the beach and that thing will hold you up. 200 pounds. I could take a 2-liter, an empty 2-liter, put the top on it, go to the beach, and that 2-liter will keep me afloat. Yeah. The fact is, that much air keeps me floating. The only way I can sink a 200-pound body is by blowing all the air out of my lungs. How much air do you think fits in my lungs? What percentage of my density of my body do you think makes up? So silly. But these are all points that you won't acknowledge. You won't actually. Is scuba diving fake? We've already talked about this. But see, again, the same trolls make the same fucking comments over and over again. Scuba diving requires weights. You have to have your 200-pound body. You have to add weights to it. You have to have a weighted vest. Then you have this big giant cylinder full of air that's also heavy as fuck. And it has, an arm's worth of air on it, right? A ballast tank. It's the ballast tanks. Again, see, go watch the first 9 parts. This is what I'm talking about. All these dumbass comments, all these, it's like an earth-shape argument, right? You always know that people haven't bothered to look into it by the way they argue. They don't make any reasonable arguments. They make stupid arguments. Well, how's the sun work? Obviously, you haven't looked into it. And when it comes to submarines, literally none of you have looked into it. I've been making this claim for a long time. You know, these same dumb trolls that want to come here every day and say it, they could go look into it, but they don't. They don't know shit. Arguing with these idiots is like, you know, it's just pointless. Because they don't know the other side of the argument. They don't know my side and they don't know their side. They just, oh, I saw it once. I saw a boat at the harbor once. Yeah, I went on a tour one time. There was a boat, it was docked, and they let us go in it. And I walked on that submarine. Duh. Like it's just the same stupidity over and over again. Guy loves Hamas. This is the best that you can come up with. And I don't believe in Hamas. Hamas is just more bad guy buffoonery. It's like ISIS and Al Qaeda and shit. They're fake. But let's just say Hamas was real, and what they, you know, and the October 7th attack wasn't just a false flag where no bad guys actually died or were taken hostage. It's all just bullshit. But let's just say it was real. Fuck yeah, they would have my full support. Hamas is amazing. If they're actually real and doing what they do, they're amazing. Anybody fighting against the cult is amazing. Hamas isn't real. But notice how stupid the comments are, right? The comments are just stupid. This person says some dumb shit like that because they can't make any real arguments. And then when I engage their argument, they're just going to jump to something else, right? They're just going to jump to, oh no, I reported you to the fans, right? Because you can't argue against what I'm saying. This is how, like, they can't help but prove the narrative. If I was wrong, they would change what they say. I mean, when you talk about Hamas, right? So again, October 7th is not real. It was a false flag. It was completely manufactured. It was fake. But Bad Guy Land killed at least 240 civilians. It's between 240 and 270. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's actually 270, but I can't say for certain, so I stick with 240 on the conservative estimate. Reportedly, admittedly, they had killed 240 plus civilians prior to October 7th. They were doing nightly raids where they would wait till like 3 in the morning and then they would go kick in somebody's door and start shooting, and they took thousands and thousands of hostages, and I mean, just relentless. And that's just 2023. 2022 was the deadliest year for the Palestinians. Prior to, since 2006. Prior to that, 2021 was the deadliest year. So 2023 was setting up to be the deadliest year for the Palestinians since 2006. So let's just say Hamas was real somehow. Just like you cry that Bad Guy Land has a right to defend itself, well, why won't the Palestinians have a right to defend themselves? Like, it's just so fucking stupid, right? It's so stupid. And then, you know, I'm going to bring numbers and I'm going to bring facts to the table that none of these clowns can even begin to touch. They don't know. They don't know any of this shit, especially considering they're dumb fucking Bad Guy Land bots. And this is, I guess we always need to start with this, because this is the proof that people love to avoid, right? So, because again, I know that the stupid ass is watching. They don't know facts, right? So Naftali Bennett is a former Bad Guy Land prime minister. right? He was the prime minister. So during the 3-year stretch where Bad Guy Land had 5 different prime ministers, just under 4 years, it went Netanyahu, Benny Gantz, then Netanyahu again, then this guy, Naftali Bennett, who then stepped down in like April, May, June, something like that of 2022. He just stepped down as prime minister, you know. And then Yair Lapid, who has been a talk, like Yair Lapid was in the Where in the World is Osama bin Laden movie. Right? He's been a talking head for decades. Suddenly Yair Lapid just takes over. Now again, these are the facts. These are the, we have a pedo flag flyer. You fly the pedo flag, you get eliminated. Like, these guys don't know facts. They just argue stupid shit. And you're gonna see it left and right here because they literally can't say anything else. But Naftali Bennett was the prime minister, and the only thing that separated him from Netanyahu was that Netanyahu has always believed that everyone in Bad Guy Land should serve in the military when they turn 18. And therefore they become reservists for the rest of their life. Naftali Bennett believed that any fighting, anything like that was done by Bad Guy Land should be done by the American Goyim. The Goyim should do all the fighting while they get to go on their pilgrimages all over the world, and that they're paid for government fucking trips all over the world and do what they wanted to do. So that was the only 2 things that these guys disagreed on, and supposedly Naftali Bennett won the election. And of course, all of this was during this time when Netanyahu was under indictment, and they were really trying to like push all that underneath so you couldn't see it, right? But Naftali Bennett, back in 2010, was interviewed. And remember, this is the guy that is in charge, or was in charge. This is what he has to say.
In conjunction with My Israel, has arranged instruction day for wiki editors. The goal of the day is to teach people how to edit in Wikipedia, which is the #1 source of information today in the world. As a way of example, if someone searches the Gaza flotilla, we want to be there. We want to be the guys who influence what is written there, how it's written, and to ensure that it's balanced and Zionist in nature. We came here to learn.
Okay, so I really don't know how else to prove to you that Bad Guy Land controls Wikipedia. He says they arranged an instruction day for them to teach the editors at Wikipedia, the #1 source of information in the world, how to edit things so that it has a balanced and pro-Zionist perspective. Like, seriously, as far as do I not like them? I fucking hate them. That cult is disgusting. But as far as like evidence goes and proof goes, you know, you have a bunch of dumbass comments on here saying whatever kind of stupid shit they want to, but not one of them brings you factual evidence. I'm providing you the factual evidence that Bad Guy Land controls Wikipedia. And you say, so that had to do with anything? Well, when I then use Wikipedia as a source of information, I am, willingly using their source as the source of information, right? Everything you read on Wikipedia has a balanced and Zionist in nature perspective. So most of you who like to hide behind stupidity and ignorance, well, there's nothing you can really hide here. If there's any source that I'm going to look at, like if I was trying to pull some shit it wouldn't be Wikipedia. Wikipedia is acknowledged and admitted to be their control mechanism. It's how they control what we know, right? I mean, I don't know what else to show you, right? I just, that's the future prime minister is saying that they control Wikipedia. This is in 2010. This is 15 years ago. So when I bring up Team Jorge, Jorge, and I click on the Wikipedia entry for Team Jorge, you know that this entry has the Bad Guy Land seal of approval, right? This is what they want us to know. This is the balanced and Zionist perspective that they want us to have, right? Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. So they're this is a group that specializes in fake social media profiles to control the outcomes of elections. Not just some doofus's YouTube feed. I think that would be pretty easy for you to do. If you could manipulate an election, then you could probably manipulate a YouTube feed or two, right? One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The group was exposed in February, not February, like all of you say wrong, February 2023, after an award-winning undercover operation by journalists from Israel and France as part of a consortium of investigative journalists coordinated by Forbidden Stories. The organization has been active since at least 2015 and boasts of having manipulated 33 presidential elections worldwide. If you know about the 33 thing, then you already know. Many of them in Africa, many meaning 4 or more, and in 27 cases with success. So out of that 27 manipulations, presidential elections that they did, at least 4 were in Africa. They've been active since at least 2015, which is just before Trump won the first time. Well, Trump didn't win. Trump actually lost by 2.7 million votes. And the swamp that he said he was going to drain, full of bad guys, put him in anyway. 2,700,000 more people voted for Hillary than Trump. But because the Electoral College had to step in, you know, we get it right every other time. The only 3 times in modern history we didn't pick the right person. It's Trump the first time and George Bush Jr. both times. But any other time, we're allowed to pick our own president. Just sometimes the Electoral College has to step in and stop California from picking the president. Just fucking stupid, right? Because, you know, all these crackheads out here reading Wikipedia, providing you evidence for things, makes so much sense. The group was exposed, blah, blah, blah. Their activities were revealed following a 2022 sting operation in Tel Aviv, carried out by 3 undercover journalists who posed as prospective clients and filmed their interactions with Tal Hanan, Talhanan, the group's leader and former Israeli Special Forces operative, in which he explained the inner workings of the system. Tal used the synonym Jorge, blah, blah, blah. According to Tal Hanan, the group's leader, Team Jorge has existed for more than 2 decades and has been engaged in propaganda and disinformation activities in more than 30 countries. However, its first documented activity dates back to 2015. Their service has been available to government intelligence agencies, political campaigns, and private companies that wish to covertly manipulate the public opinion. As long as you got $6 million, they'll do your bidding. This is the important part, right? One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called Advanced Impact Media Solutions, or AIMS. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others, meaning YouTube. I don't know, like, so as far as the bot interference, the profiles that come in with the fake profile, fake, if there's even a picture, fake everything, and just say the same dumb nonsense. It's almost like they're all the same brain. They say the same dumb comments. They spell things. They have the same, misspellings. They have the same grammatical errors. It's clearly the same group of people. Well, here it is. Like, as an American goes, I don't understand. You're willing to believe in Jesus. You're willing to believe in Trump. You're willing to believe in all these crazy things without having any evidence to support that belief. You believe that Trump is the good guy based on what? Anytime you ask anybody to elaborate on their Trump support, they say things like, oh, so what, you believe Biden? You think Biden's, you voted for Kamala, this guy voted for... Like, this is the dumb shit. They never proudly answer why they support Trump. Same thing with Christians. Christians will never tell you why they believe in that shit. They might start quoting scriptural bullshit. They might start, attacking you. But they'll never give you that simple, oh yeah, well, I believe in this because of this. Because there is nothing. There is no evidence that they can point to support their insane beliefs. And that they're fucking insane, right? So when you see that, like, people are willing to believe foundation shit that they supposedly base their lives on, even though everybody that's a Christian isn't a very good Christian. But they'll believe things without evidence. They'll call people like me crazy conspiracy theorists and all this other shit. I'm providing you evidence. I gave you the evidence that Bad Guy Land controls Wikipedia. Naftali Bennett, future prime minister, brags that they control Wikipedia so that if anybody were to search anything, they would be there, and the perspective that we would get would be a balanced and pro-Zionist perspective. The evidence, like I just, when we're arguing shit, you have a bunch of feelings and mostly stupid bots who, what can the bot possibly say? Right? When conspiracy calls themselves crazy, believe them. Yeah. That part you should believe, because you're stupid. Yeah, I mean, I just don't even understand. Other than stupidity, what could it be? Give me something else. You don't have evidence to back up your claims. But this is literally the evidence that they want you to know. This isn't like some hidden conspiracy theorist, Alex Jones kind of bullshit. This is actual, factual, them acknowledging that they have this fucking, this is just one. Team Jorge is just one Israeli Black Ops organization that's has unlimited funding and no regulation. And this guy bragged about having 30,000 bot profiles at his disposal. That he could sick 30,000 bot profiles either to attack somebody or to bolster someone. Right? This is how they can make stars really easily. This is why you see so many people that get so many fucking thousands of views right away, because they just turn the machines on. And so I'm giving you the actual evidence, like that they're stupid enough to tell us. They kind of have to, because it got exposed. There was a big news story about it. And it's funny because this is the same shit that crazy conspiracy theorists have been telling you for years. I've been telling you that they interfere with the feeds and that they have bots and all this shit for years. I didn't have this to back it up until 2022, no, 2023, when it was exposed, when the article came out in early 2023. Go figure. But it's like this was obvious, and there's multiple articles where you'll read that, like, when bad guys will say that they're being shadow banned. I saw this one article where they were claiming that pro bad guy land supporters were being shadow banned, and it's like, don't you get that by saying that that's what's happening to you, you're acknowledging that that happens? Like, how are you that stupid? They're just inbred stupid fucks. I don't know how else to describe it, but the inbreeding definitely has created a very, like it reminds me of that South Park guy. Well, so Baggerland is allowed to defend themselves because the Bible they wrote calls it their land. Like that's the best that I ever get. But let's take this one step further, right? So Team Jorge addresses the bot profiles, but what about the real life people, right? What about the real life interference? Well, now we're going to look on on Wikipedia still. On this one's actually all locked up. You can't actually. So I know people will say anybody can edit Wikipedia, and not everybody can. But lots of people can edit Wikipedia to a degree. You can make an edit, and then the bad guy taught editors will check your edit, and if your edit goes with the perspective, they'll allow it to stay. If it doesn't, they just remove it. It's really pretty simple. Like, yeah, I guess you can edit it. It won't stick unless it works, unless they like it. But they even take it a step further where they don't even want to have to bother, and they lock up the pages so that people can't edit it. So ActIL was a social networking service used by supporters of Bad Guy Land to support online anti-Bad Guy Land content, or to oppose online anti-Bad Guy Land content, such as the BDS, Boycott, Divestments, and Sanctions movement. Okay, so do you get it? Like, they're flat out telling you that their stated purpose was to go against anybody talking bad about Bad Guy Land. Its activities were referred to as an, quote, online propaganda campaign and, quote, a virtual situation room for pro-Bad Guy Land experts. ActIL directed its users to, quote, missions to like, comment on, and share pro-Bad Guy Land material on social media. It also asked users to flag, report, and respond to criticisms of Bad Guy Land. Users were guided on how to respond, which is this kind of bullshit, which might entail writing a reply using the provided talking points or sharing or upvoting an allied comment. The app also provided users with ready-made memes promoting Bad Guy Land's perspective for them to share. By completing missions, users earned points, unlocked badges, and had their scores displayed on leaderboards. So this is the human aspect of it. Like, again, I don't really understand what else I can provide you. I showed you that they control Wikipedia. And then I've shown you now 2 different examples on the Wikipedia that they control where they acknowledge that they have a bot network that they use to attack people like me, while also encouraging their own people to attack people like me, and then getting them scores and prizes and all kinds of shit. What else do you need? What other evidence can I provide you to show you exactly what's going on here? And look at the comments. Get help, buddy, and the RVD, all this shit. Look, this is the best that they can come up with. We're on the precipice of war. World War III, nuclear, blah, 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 if you believe that shit. And these guys they don't have an opinion. Like, who else is going to say these things? You really think good old red-blooded Christian Americans are going to come in here and talk all this shit about the guy exposing the people who killed their Jesus? Because you're dumb enough to believe that to begin with, right? But seriously, like you, who else is providing you with evidence this strong? Hmm? I mean, you know, it clearly doesn't matter what evidence is provided. They're not going to address it, and they're not going to debunk it. So, what's the point here? Right? What's the point of what they do other than to shoot the messenger? Other than to make me look crazy so that the people that are, you know, like, wait, this kind of makes sense. They see what happens to someone like me. And they also get that reassurance that, oh, I'm just crazy. That's why what I'm saying makes sense. So that means you must be crazy? Oh, well, I don't want to be crazy, so yeah, this guy's crazy. Like, it's just psychological bullshit. It seems pretty simple, right? Instead of saying all of the other dumb shit that they say, why don't they just tell me what I'm wrong about? Why don't they tell you guys what I'm wrong about? Why would anybody come on this feed and see that what we're talking about, see that we're talking about genocide and pedophilia and all that other shit, and be like, hey, let's change the subject. I want to change the subject. Who's going to do that? Well, never even, not one of them denounces pedophilia. Not one of them says, fuck yeah, we should kill these pedos. Not one of them says, yeah, we should end this genocide. This is insane. America shouldn't be giving our tax dollars, shouldn't have our tax dollars stolen from us to provide, the worst people in the world with the means to commit genocide. Not one of these fucking idiots does that shit, right? And this is how this works. Who is behind this? Who is going to hear these kinds of things and not have an opinion on them? They're just going to keep talking bullshit. You know, other than pedos and Jays and J pedos, what do you think it is? How many people here care more about my belief in submarines than they do ending pedophilia? And so many of these are America first, Trump-handsy bullshits. You know, and immediately, if you say you're a Trump supporter, I know you're a fucking idiot. I know you won't have any reason to be a Trump supporter. And it won't even matter, like, you know, I remember prior to the election, damn near every single one of them would either say he's going to cut the gas and food prices or the no wars. They would bring up one of those two things first and then the other thing second. And then they might bring up the border or some shit third. But every single one of them would bring up the gas and food prices. And then when it doesn't happen, they just go, well, it takes more time. It takes time. You know, I can end all these wars with one phone call. No, you sure didn't. Matter of fact, you're the reason, like the whole thing with the bad guy land war. Sure, they did it on the Biden watch. They did the false flag, and then initiated the genocide on the Biden watch. But Biden didn't do the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are one of the main reasons why Bad Guy Land is able to do what it does right now. And that nobody comes to the defense of the Palestinians. Like, as much as I support Iran, and I hope Iran does very, very well in this whole thing, I can't help but question, like, where the fuck have you been for the last 600 plus days? You're supposed to be the bad guys. You're supposed to be the ones that funded Hamas and all this other bullshit. And yet, Iran sat by and watched. Just like everybody did. And all of those quote Muslim countries, they all sat around and watched as Bad Guy Land openly committed genocide. Like the most widely broadcast genocide ever seen. The most provable genocide ever. Because we all know that Holocaust is a bunch of bullshit. You know, when Europe only has 3 million people at the time, you can't claim 6 million were killed. Especially when most of that 3 million came here. Escaped here, escaped into Russia, blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit. Yet we you know, especially me growing up at my age, and people around my age, older, maybe a few years younger, prior to the internet, we were given a month-long history lesson every single year that we went to school about World War II and the Holocaust and all that bullshit. Like it was just driven, ingrained into us that they were the victims and they deserve special treatment and all this other shit. And then once the internet started to come around and get real popular, they don't do that anymore. The kids don't learn about that shit anymore in school. It's just a quick little lesson, World War II. Isn't that where the Hitler guy killed all those people? They basically get the gist of it. Because they don't want people to be able to, like, the last thing that any teacher wants or the system wants is for a kid to take my feed into his class and be like, hey teacher, all right, you know, can you tell me why what this guy says isn't true? Is what this guy is saying isn't true? Can you explain that? Because the narrative that we're given, the Holocaust narrative, doesn't make much sense. And it's not very well documented. So there's a lot of evidence to the contrary. So can you debunk what this guy's saying? That they can't have that happen, right? They can't have then the rest of the kids be associated with this, and then they go home and they talk to their parents, and like it just spreads. So what they do is just put it away. Don't talk about it. And when you look at the genocides that have supposedly existed, nothing compares to what we're witnessing right now. We're witnessing it. They control the news. You know, they control the media, so they control what news we get. Meaning everything we're seeing is them bragging. Now, you know, you're going to see a lot more if you look through your social media and you see the alternative sources. Obviously, the mainstream source is going to tell you the mainstream narrative and leave out a bunch of shit. But the thing about 2025 is, you know, people walk around with 2 cell phones and shit. You're going to get a perspective that isn't approved beforehand. Now, at some point you have to realize, like, if that perspective gets too many views or whatever, they shut it down. There is no education to the contrary. You're just supposed to believe what's told to you and not ask questions. And if you ask questions or don't believe it, then you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. You're a terrorist. You're a bad guy. You know, it's funny how Americans don't seem to understand what America stands for. You know, freedom of speech, freedom of choice, all these kinds of things where we can, you know, you don't have to believe what's told to you. That's supposedly the good thing about being here. Now, your buddy Donald Trump is trying his best to eliminate that. Which is funny because you don't see these America First Trumpanzees swinging from the trees and throwing shit at the fact that he's destroying the First Amendment to protect a foreign country and a foreign belief structure. You know, it's honestly shocking. It's shocking, but these guys don't, you know, look at the comments. They're never going to address it. Where is the Holocaust Memorial with the 6 million names on the wall? Where is anything to validate the narrative that you're given? I mean, it's all just bullshit. There's this video that's going around where they talk about, is it possible for one little pizza company to bake 6 million pizzas in, you know, a couple of years, whatever the time frame is. And they basically point out how it's just impossible to bake 6 million pizzas. And pizzas, you know, don't take nearly as long as people do. All these clowns acting oblivious in 2025 is crazy. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's people still believe in Jesus. How does anybody believe in Jesus? When you understand that people still not just believe in Jesus, but will like fight you for it, while at the same time being completely ignorant of anything it says. They don't know the shit. They might like barely remember a few quotes here and there or whatever, but they can't actually have an intelligent Bible discussion. And yet people still believe in that shit. The arrogance it takes. No, my Sky Daddy is correct. The other Sky Daddies are stupid. How could you possibly believe in those other Sky Daddies? But mine, the biggest pedo fan in the world, you know, your God sure does seem to like pedophilia. If I say the word pedophile, if you don't admit that priest is one of the first words that comes to your head afterward, you're a liar. And that shouldn't be the case. If pedophilia like shouldn't exist anywhere, it should be the church. You would think it'd be the church of all places. Have you been to a blast furnace in Greeley? Yep, yeah. They didn't have blast furnaces. There's a guy called David Cole. David Cole did a great job of debunking the whole gas chamber bullshit and furnace thing. Like, look him up. He's actually one of them. He's actually a bad guy. And he went to the places and he showed how like the facilities just weren't capable of doing that. And there's no evidence of it. It's one of these things where it's a story. It's just a story. And it's not even the worst story of the time. At the same fucking time, Stalin and the Bolshevik bad guys, they were bad guys. They killed some 20 to 50 million Christians. There she is. Good to see ya. Like the Holocaust narrative is one of the weakest ones. And the whole thing with the Stalin and the Bolshevik bad guys killing 25 to 50 million Christians, how come that just skates under the radar at the same fucking time? The same time. Or how about Leopold and the 50 million plus Africans he killed? Or how about Mao and the 100 million of his own that he supposedly killed? Yeah, Stalin was just another character. That's the thing is you guys you're on such a low level when you still think these people have power. These people aren't just figureheads, aren't just actors who they put in front of us to make us believe the narrative. Especially here in the United States where that actor changes every 4 years. Like it's just such dumb bullshit. And the reality is, when it comes to history and just in all of it, we only know what they tell us to know. The only way you can ever get the truth on history is if the Goyim unite and revolt against the bad guys, the chosen, that control our narrative. That's literally it. Everything else is just, is just hearsay and perspective given to you. You really don't know. And the best film ever created, called Hollywoodism, explains it to you. I highly, highly suggest everybody watches Hollywoodism. Hollywoodism it's not a conspiracy. It's the greatest film ever made, but it's not a conspiracy theory like film. It's not like some Alex Jones production or whatever. This is a movie they made in like 97, 96, 98, something like that. 1997, 98. Where if I made the movie and I made a word for word remake, except for when they say us and we, I say they and them, it would get panned. Everybody'd say, you can't say all these anti-supremacism tropes, and you can't, that they control the Hollywood. You can't say that. You can't say that. I would get roasted for making the same video word for word. But that's the good part about Hollywoodism, is they made it. Right? They made this shit. God, you need to get a grip. Look at, somebody is trying to tell me what I should be doing with somebody that is watching me and clearly watches me all the time, is telling me I should stop doing what I'm doing. Why? Do you guys see that all the time? Do you guys see that when people, they have their videos, their channels, whatever, and instead of arguing or making any real points, people just come in and start to, you need to stop doing this. You need to stop doing this. Stop talking about stuff. Especially considering, what I do is wrong and it doesn't matter and it doesn't have any effect on things and all this shit. Why would people be so desperately trying to tell me to stop doing it then? Do they jump off of here and then just go find another page where they get, because I actually never see these profiles anywhere. But, they don't go on pages and tell people, oh, you need to stop. Is that what they do after this? They just spend all day looking for people that they can then watch for hours daily and tell them to stop talking because they don't matter. Do you realize how fucking stupid that is? Oh, look, we have another fake profile that's claiming to have been on a submarine for X amount of time. Isn't it strange how they never come in and start breaking down things and proving, how the whole system works and all that? They just say dumb shit. I mean, this shouldn't be so easy for me. This should be a lot more difficult than it is. I shouldn't be able to crush these guys like I do. But again, who's gonna come in here and just, you should stop? What sense does that make? Anybody that wants to talk about submarines, I've done a 9 videos like this in a row where we looked at every aspect of submarines. Where we broke it down, we researched the history of it. We looked at the technology that they say is at play. We broke everything down and debunked it. How come nobody just goes to those first 9 parts and debunks what's said? Other than it being Team Jorge, Act IL, desperate distraction, what else makes sense here? How many people would or do have somebody that they just hate, who's wrong about everything, and all they do is watch them for hours at a time saying stupid things trying to get their attention. What universe does that make sense in? Team Jorge, yes, we just looked it up. You want to hear it again? Want to hear what Team Jorge? You want to hear Team Jorge again? Team Jorge is the name given to an outfit of Israeli contractors specialized in the use of malign cyber activities, including hacking, sabotage, and bot farm run social media disinformation campaigns to manipulate the outcomes of elections. They use AIMS. Let's see. One of the organization's primary tools is a software package called AIMS, Advanced Impact Media Solutions. The software automates centralized control of thousands of fake social media profiles on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Telegram, TikTok, and others like YouTube. Team Jorge, this is what they do. Like specifically. And this is just one thing, right? This is just one Israeli Black Ops organization that was exposed. There are hundreds, if not thousands of them doing the exact same thing. Team Jorge had 30,000 bot profiles at their disposal. 30,000 bot profiles. And that's just one. You'll never see Zuckerberg or anyone else talking about how they're eliminating troll farm accounts or troll farms out of bad guy land. They'll talk about how they attacked, how they got rid of this 1,000 profiles out of China, 800 profiles out of Philippines. This one bad guy land group has 30,000, and you never hear anybody talk about eliminating those. Again, look at the comments. This should be something that Americans are going, wait, what? Bad guy land is able to control and interfere with our elections? Because you were told you were supposed to care a lot about the fact that Russia interfered with the 2016 elections. They never showed you any proof. They never told you how. It's actually pretty insulting when you think about it. They want to tell you that you were going to vote one way, but then Russia showed you some sort of ad or something like that, some sort of propaganda video, and you change your mind. And they say that Russia interfered with the election. They never really specify it, but they sort of insinuate that it was to make sure Trump won, and then Trump lost. So even though, if it was true, their interference was insignificant. Trump lost by 2.7 million votes. So even if it was true, it wouldn't matter. It'd be a joke. It'd be another one of those things that makes Russia look really weak. But here you have actual factual proof that it was bad guy land that did it. And they used Team Jorge, among other things, to do so. And by interfering with the election, they don't mean showing you videos and shit. They mean that they, even though you voted, we overwhelmingly voted this way, they're going to bring in this person anyway. That's how they interfered with the election. But you should be distracted by the Russia thing. Big badass Russia that can't even take out Ukraine, can't even take out Kiev. Do you ever wonder why we seem to give a shit about Ukraine and Kiev so much? You ever ask that question? It's definitely not because they provide us with anything real valuable or anything like that. Like they're not some big trade partner. They're forever away. Like it wouldn't make any sense. There's nothing that they provide that we couldn't produce ourselves cheaper than shipping that shit all the way from Ukraine. Come on. Why do you think we care so much about Ukraine? I'll give you a hint. Probably has to do with the fact that not only is that one of the largest chosen populations in the region, it's where a lot of the leaders and high-ranking figures in bad guy land, it's where their families come from. The Milikowskis and all of them with their real names, not their fake names that they've changed their names to fit the narrative that they're. Like a study just came out that said 95% of the Israelis don't have any Semitic blood in them. The term Semitic, when you hear that term Semitic, you hear somebody say anti-Semitic. You should be offended by that, because that's essentially calling you a racist. And that's them saying that you are anti-black, white, brown people from that entire region, meaning the Palestinians are Semitic. Saying the Palestinians are anti-Semitic it's just stupid. It's just fucking stupid. They are Semitic people. Semitic refers to people of that region, which also includes the North African continent, the north part of Africa, meaning places like Egypt and shit like that, are also considered Semitic people. Semitism, on the other hand, is a completely different thing, and let's show you guys, because I like to lie. So we'll put Semitism definition into the Google machine. We'll pull up Merriam-Webster definition, Semitism. Don't know how else to show you.
Semitism.
See? It's the Merriam-Webster page. Number 1A, Semitic character or qualities. Number 1B, a characteristic feature of a Semitic language occurring in another language. That seems reasonable, right? Number 2, policy or predisposition favorable to bad guys. Policy or predisposition favorable to bad guys. Now, if somebody's going to tell me how the Merriam-Webster definition of a word is not correct, I shouldn't be using the Merriam-Webster site to define words, I'd love to hear that argument. But how many Americans, how many people think that specific group of people deserves policy and predisposition favorable to them? Do you understand what that means? That's supremacy. When the laws, the policy, the rules and regulations, along with the predisposition, the way that people think about things, the way that the attitude you have going into the situation, your predisposition, how you've been pre-programmed, is favorable to one group of people, who thinks that's okay? Why should one group of people get any sort of favoritism? Why should group of people get any sort of favoritism? That group of people is so much more special than everyone else that they deserve the rules and regulations, the policies, and the attitudes towards them to be favorable to them, while the rest of us fucking suffer. You guys are cool with that? Look at these goddamn comments. You are claiming that all bad guys are bad guys. That's like saying white people are bad. No, it's not. See, I love when the trolls point to their stupidity, right? Because white people are born white. Nothing you can do about it. You can tan, I guess, but you're still considered a white person. Black people, born black people, can't change it. You can't convert to being black. You can't convert to being white. When you can convert to something, then it becomes a choice. It's a belief structure. It's not a race of people. And I when we're talking about choice, that's a whole different thing. Personally, I think if you're raised in that cult, but you leave it and you say, fuck no, I believe in equality for everybody, I'm not a supremacist, you're like a superstar. I never meet those people because nobody's willing to give up the opportunities and the advancements and all the benefits that come with being these horrible, horrible people. But the fact is, I'm talking about a choice here. You don't have to do that shit. You could be the better person and leave that shit behind. You just don't choose to. But this is the stupidity that comes my way, right? Did you convert to being a Epstein? To be like, this is how stupid they are. He doesn't even know that when it's a vowel is the first word, then it becomes an. It would be Ann Epstein, which wouldn't even make sense anyway. But like, this is the desperation, right? Instead of coming in here and telling me, no, you're wrong, these people do deserve the favoritism and the policy and all that shit, they are good, and this is how they benefit the world and all these other things, it just turns into dumb fuckery all the time. If I'm wrong, why don't they just tell me what I'm wrong about? When I'm showing you guys, again, I think I do a pretty good job of providing proof for what I'm saying. It's not just some guy talking shit. It's me providing you proof after proof after proof. Like, what do you argue then? Where is your argument? What could it possibly be? There, he's really there. You never provided any proof. Never provided any proof. I didn't just show you the Merriam-Webster definition of the word. That's not proof. I didn't show you earlier Naftali Bennett admitting that Bad Guy Land controls Israel. Or that Bad Guy Land controls Wikipedia, so that Wikipedia has a balanced and pro-Zionist perspective. I didn't show you that. I didn't then use that same Wikipedia to show you how Team Jorge exists and how they use bot farm social media profiles and the thousands and thousands of profiles to attack people that disagree. I didn't then show you ACT-IL and how not only do they use bots, but they actually make a game out of it for the people to do, so they can attack and they get points for it and badges and prizes and shit. None of that's proof, huh? Gosh, that's weird. It's too bad I'm not like any of these fake profiles that come in here and say dumb shit, because that's proof, right? Like, it's just fucking stupid. The people that don't require any proof from their Jesus, from their God, from their Christianity, from their brainwashing, from their Trump, they sit here and denounce the proof that's been provided. And they never say anything to the contrary. If they're such good people, why doesn't anybody ever stand up for them, back them up, like, openly? Why is it always this cowardly, covert bullshit where they try to make me seem like the bad guy for talking about it? What American thinks we should continue giving Bad Guy Land $3.8 billion a year? as a base, as a lump sum cash payment that they get in the beginning of the year every year, along with all of the grants and all the other freebies that they get from us. We give them $3.8 billion every year. Who thinks that's a good idea? Let's see if any of these fucking idiots are even willing to address that comment. Who thinks it's a good idea to give bad guy land $3.8 billion a year, and why? Why is it a good idea? Watch. They won't even fucking address it. Why don't they sit here and tell me, no, I'm setting you up. Like, if you have the slam dunk, you should be taking the alley-oop here. I'm setting you up. Here, tell us the good stuff. Tell us the reason. Make a reasonable point here. He doesn't know what anti-Semitism is yeah, I didn't just read to you what it is. I know where it comes from. I know how it's been changed. I mean, you don't even spell it right. Right? That's how stupid you are. So most of you don't know this, that in 2021, it's 2020 or 2021, but I think it's 2021, they got together and had hearings and whatever legislation is necessary to change the spelling of a word. I never heard of this in any other capacity, right? I've never heard of a word existing for 140 years and then suddenly the spelling of it needs to be changed. Well, for the reason that we're given on this one, but for any reason. I've never heard of that before. I'd love to see other examples of it where it not only does it happen, but there's government put into it. There's legislation, there's hearings, there's whatever put into this thing to then change the spelling on something, meaning then everything has to be backdated. You have to go back and change the spelling and all the other stuff to make sure it matches this new spelling. Like, it's such a strange thing. But in 2021, they decided that anti-Semitism should go from ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM to ANTI-SEMITISM, all one word, all lowercase. Funny too, because the Trump task force to combat anti-Semitism is still spelled the old way for some reason. But the official spelling was changed, and the reason given was because they didn't want us to think that anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They didn't want us to know that Semitism was a thing. Because I know back, I don't know, 2010, somewhere around there, I just looked at the word one day and thought, hey, that's two words. I know what anti means. Don't know what Semitism means. What does Semitism mean? And it used to take forever. Like, I put Semitism definition into the Google machine, and I had to go through like 4 or 5 pages of anti-Semitism, anti-this, anti-this, anti-that. Like, it was just propaganda after. I had to dig to get to it. But then I found it. I found the Merriam-Webster definition of it. And it's pretty telling. You know, I couldn't have planned it any better. You know, they're the dumbasses that make it that way, so it's not like I influenced anything. I'm honestly surprised they haven't changed it by now. Because they have the whole working definition of anti-Semitism, which is forever changing and just the most insane crybaby shit you've ever seen. The thing that you have to take into consideration is, like any of you, when you know the truth about something, do you then like shut down and be like, okay, I know the truth, but nobody asked me about it? Nobody talk about any of it. I don't want you talking about that. I know the truth. I'm actually, not only is it the truth, but it's the righteous truth. It's the good stuff. This is the good of the world is the truth that I have. How many people do that and they go, no, just don't talk to me about it. If you talk to me about it, you're a bad guy. The answer is nobody. Nobody. Everybody, when you get some good, juicy truth that you know will help people, and like, this is freedom, you want to scream it from the rafters. You tell the same, you tell multiple people the same fucking story. So I was and I did and you just can't wait to tell people this truth you've discovered. And yet when it comes to them and their cult and any truth behind it, they don't encourage you to ask. You show me the video of the bad guy, sitting with somebody like me who's asking questions or levying my accusations, my misconstrued accusations, and then they handle it well. Look up any interview with somebody talking to a bad guy about the genocide going on. And they literally do the same thing. They won't address the points being made by the commentator. They'll just continuously say, no, you can't say that. No, don't you say that. Don't you say that now. If you say, oh, that's anti-supremacism, you can't say that. You can't say that. They literally, they never make any sort of reasonable arguments. They never say anything that matters. It's just always crybaby bullshit, right? And it matches the comments. It's the same shit I get, right? They just, there is no arguing. So what can they say? How is anybody going to justify the killing of women and children, especially the children part? How does anybody even begin to justify that? Starving an entire population, starving children purposefully. It's not like the food isn't there. They're just not allowed to get it. Or if they do get it, it's an ambush. And because somehow the people that have created the need for aid to be given to begin with, the people whose set, like purposeful, as loud as you can scream it goal is to kill the Palestinians, to wipe them out, are now in charge of distributing the aid that those same Palestinians get? Do you realize how insane that is? Huh?
Saturday?
Yes. Still. Okie doke. What? Like, look at it. Look at how stupid this is. Oh, looks like the comments got shut off. Of course the comments get shut off. I would imagine if I was the system and I couldn't debunk what the person was saying, and all I was doing with the comments was making us look stupid, I'd shut the comments off. I'd do the same shit. If I knew I was I was the inferior position, if I knew I was just getting whooped up on like that, I would, I wouldn't let people see it. But you just look at the shit that's still allowed to be here. I wasn't listening to your yapping. Says the person who's begging for my attention. What are you just watching then? You just love the way I look, so you're just watching, you're not actually listening to what's being said? Like, this is the shit they come up with. I don't see any documents here, right? I got the documents, it's got the presidential seal of approval on it. See, now you know it's true, because the documents are here. Like, there's not a single comment that's going to make any sense, that's going to address or debunk anything I say. And eventually they just give up, right? They're in your wall. The bugs are crawling in your skin. He doesn't have any walls. That's why he doesn't know anything. Like, this is all the same shit. It's just the same. Literally, did you just ignore everyone? Like, I'm supposed to continue reading this dumb nonsense. The same dumb fucking comments over and over again. Yep, keep addressing them. But look at this. Just because of your position on Israel, your YOUR making me want to become a lifelong supporter of them. Yep. You talking about how they're killing children, how they're starving people, how they're stealing our tax dollars for it. That makes you want to be a lifelong supporter of them. Like, this is, that person thought that was a good comment? Think about that. That person just said what you're saying about Israel at the time I was saying how they, they control things and they're killing children, they're committing genocide, all that. This person thinks saying, well, you're saying makes me want to be a lifetime supporter of them. Who is going to be dumb enough to say that other than them? They're dumbass inbred nonsense. And I'm kicking their system's ass so bad that it's starting to spit out these dumb comments. They had to shut it down. I can't see any. The last comment I can see is, at the most, it sounds like a bribe, paying these dorks to leave us alone. I don't even know what the fuck that means. The $3.8 billion to leave us alone? They don't leave us alone. What are you talking about? Like, that is what somebody came up with. Somebody thought that would be a good comment and said it. And I think that person's even in support. So that's even a stranger, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else to provide you guys. I can provide you with articles, videos, different examples of how they control things, how they acknowledge it. I can provide you all these different things. And then, almost like it's serendipitous, you have these fucking dumbass commenters come in and back up everything I'm saying. They definitely don't debunk what I'm saying. They don't even slightly like affect or negatively nothing. It's just stupidity. I don't know. I just, what else do you guys need? So I guess we'll have to do a reset now to get the comments to come back through, because these comments are so bad. I'm so scared of what people are saying that I'm gonna do what I can to get their comments back on the feed, because they're kicking my ass so bad, right? Let's reset. Pedophiles, as always, kill yourself. For those that have to leave, check the description. You get the link to the free download. We have this new song out that's amazing, called Sleight of Hand Job. It's fucking great. But yeah, I'm going to leave you a link to Donald Trump Hates America and COVID Sauce, our Facebook videos. I'm going to leave you a link to Hollywoodism, and I'm going to leave you a link to the website if you got to go. If not, come back, because we'll just smash some more. If you got to go, have a great day. And as always, pedophiles kill yourself.